Good morning, everyone. Today we'll be doing English grammar again, and the chapter which we are going to do today is clauses. Okay, so now it has become a ritual that before we start dealing with the concept of any chapter of grammar, we we observe the sentences first. We look at the sentences and we try to analyze the things. All right. So we begin with the observation of the sentences which are given on your screen. The first sentence is Rimjim lives in a house which is made of wood. I am sad because I lost my phone. He is eating. I like chess, but my brother likes hockey because he likes outdoor sports. Now, what is the next step? Let us try to divide the sentences into in as many parts as possible. So, Rimjim lives in a house. This can be one part. Which is made of wood can be the other part of the sentence. Again, let us look at the second example. I am sad can be the one part of the sentence, and because I lost my phone is the second part of the sentence. He is eating. This sentence has only one part, no second part. It cannot be divided into two parts. I like chess. Then this is one part, but my brother likes hockey. This is the second part. And because he likes outdoor sports, this will be the third part of the sentence. Now, how have we divided this sentence? On what basis? We have divided the sentence in such a way that each part of the sentence has a subject and a verb in it. Okay? This is the basis of our division of the sentence. So let us observe the first part of the first sentence. Rimjim lives in a house. Then Rimjim is what? This is the subject. Okay? And lives is the verb. So this part has a subject and a verb. Similarly, the second part of the subject, which is made of wood, here, which is the subject, is the verb. Now let us look at the second sentence. I, this is the subject, am is the verb. Similarly, here, because I lost my phone, I is the subject and lost is the verb. Let us move on to the third part, third sentence. He is eating. He is eating. He, it is the subject, and is the verb. Now we can see why couldn't we break it into two or three parts, because there is no what is left behind, only eating is left behind. So eating is just the kind of a verb. It is a non-finite verb, so there is no other subject or verb in this sentence. That is why this sentence has only one part. So we did not divide it further. All right. Next, I like chess. Again, I is the subject, like is the verb. But my brother likes hockey. My brother is the subject. Likes is the verb again, because he likes outdoor sports. Now he is the subject and likes again is the verb. So what did we observe? That into as many parts as possible, we divided the sentence, and we divided the sentence in such a way that each part of the sentence must have a subject and a verb. So this was the basis of our division. Now these divided parts of the sentences, that part is known as a clause. Okay, this is what we are going to deal with today, that is the clauses. So let us look into the definition of the clause and then we'll understand it. In a better way. A clause is a group of words which has a subject and only one finite verb which conveys some sense and which may or may not stand alone. Okay, it can convey some sense also, and it can convey full complete sense also. When it is standing alone, then it makes a complete sense, and when it doesn't stand alone, then it conveys some sense or partial sense. So as in these sentences, we saw that each part of the sentence, when we divided the sentences into parts, okay, like this one, so this is also a group of words. When there are more than one word, so that is known as group of words. 2, 3, 4, as many words are there. So this is the group of words. So first condition has satisfied. Second condition was that it should have a subject, so it is having a subject. The third condition was that it should only and only have one finite verb, so it has one finite verb. Lives is one finite verb, and it should stand alone. Jim lives in a house. This can also be a this stands alone. This makes a complete sense. So this is a clause. Okay. Now, since we have seen that a clause, what are the conditions that it should be? What are the conditions that it should be a group of words which has a subject and only one finite verb? Now, since we have encountered these two words, subject and finite verb, so let us look into each one of them. What is a subject? As you very well know that subject is a noun or a pronoun doing something, which is performing the action. Okay, suppose you are given a sentence, then the noun or the pronoun which is performing some action, that is known as subject. Okay, you people already know that. So the cute little puppy is playing in the garden. Who is playing in the garden? The cute little puppy. So the cute little puppy is doing something. It is playing in the garden. So this becomes the subject. And what is the object? Object is a noun or a pronoun having something done to it. What does that mean? That an object is a noun or pronoun which is the receiver of the action. The subject is the performer of the action and the object is the receiver of the action. For instance, Sam kicked the ball. So Sam is the subject because he is performing some action. He is kicking the ball. Sam kicked the ball. And Sam kicked what? Sam kicked the ball. So the ball received the action which was the kick of Sam. Okay. So this is what subject and object, the concept of subject and object. All right. Now comes the concept of finite verb. What is a finite verb? See, the verb is of two types, finite and non-finite. Non-finite verb we'll be doing later. Finite verb, the concept of finite verb is that a finite verb is a form of verb that shows agreement with the subject. Now, what does this mean? Showing agreement with subject means that the verb changes according to the number of the noun. What is the number? Singularity and plurality. When the noun or when the subject is singular, then the verb also becomes singular. When the subject is plural, then the verb also becomes plural. This we did in subject verb agreement, if you remember. And the second point is that the finite verbs, they mark the tense. Okay, the finite verb, they tell us whether the sentence is in present tense, whether it is in past tense or in future tense. So these are the two components of finite verb. This is how we identify a finite verb. So finite verb, it always changes with the change in the number of the subject. It always changes, it always tells us the kind of tense or the time of the action performed. Okay. So let us look at the example to get a better understanding of a finite verb. He lives in Germany. So see, what is the verb? Verb is live. You know that. Okay, so live is the verb. But here what we see that he is the subject which is singular. He is in singular number. So the verb also becomes singular. And what is the singular form of verb? When we add an s or es to the main form of the verb, the main form of the verb live is live only. So when the subject is singular, then we add s to make the verb singular. So here live becomes lives, right? So it has changed according to the number of the subject. So therefore it is a a finite verb. Let us look at the second example. They live in Germany. See, they is plural. They is in plural form. So the verb which we will be adding to the subject should also be in plural form. So live is the plural form of the main verb. Live only. Okay. So the plural form of the verb is the verb when we use the verb as it is without an s or es. Okay, so these two examples, they show us that the finite verb changes with the change in the number of the noun. In the first case, the number was singular, so we used a singular verb, singular form of verb. While in the second sentence, the number of the subject was plural, so we used a plural form of verb. Right, so these two sentences, they have proved the first component of the finite verb. Okay, now let us move on to the third sentence, third example. Kritika lived in Germany during her childhood. So this childhood was a thing of past, so Kritika lived in Germany. Here lived is the second form of the verb live. It is the past form of the verb live. So we know from this verb only that the action was performed in somewhere in past. Okay, so this is what is showing. This word is showing or telling us that the action was performed in the past. So like this we know that the verb also, the finite verb also changes or also tells us the time of the action performed. Okay, like he lives in Germany, this is showing that the action is being performed in the present time. This is present. And Kritika lived in Germany. This is the thing of past. So this is present. The first one is present, and the third one is past. So these two sentences, they show us that what, that this also is marked for tense. The finite verb is also marked for tense. Now in the fourth sentence, when it comes to helping verb, then helping verbs are known as finite verb. Okay. Whenever a sentence has a helping verb, then the helping verbs are known as finite verbs, and the verb which is used with it is a non-finite verb, which we will be doing later in the chapter dealing with the non-finite verb. So as of now, you should know that was here, was is the finite verb, and it is denoting the action of past again. Okay. So I hope the concept of finite verb is clear to everyone. So now we know what a subject is. Now we know what a finite verb is. So the two components of the definition of the clause, that it should have a subject. We know the performer of the action. And the second one is it should have only one finite verb. This one is a matter of importance. You should just keep in your mind, note it very carefully, that there should be only one finite verb in a clause. In one clause, there should be one finite verb. And finite verb, we have already dealt with what a finite verb is. Okay, now moving on. Yesterday we did the concept of phrase. So it is very important to know the difference between the phrases and clauses. The most important or the distinguishing factor between phrases and clauses is that phrases do not have a subject and a predicate. Okay, phrases might act as a subject or predicate, but themselves do not have any subject or predicate. So this is the important point to note. While clauses, they must have a subject and a finite verb. Okay, this is the most important point which you should know. The second important point is that phrases, they can never stand alone. However, clauses may or may not stand alone. They may make complete sense and they may not make complete sense. While phrases, they never make a complete sense. Okay, they always depend on the other part of the sentence too. They are always attached to the other part of the sentence in order to make a complete sense. Right? So this is the difference between a phrase and a clause. And of course we'll be doing the example so that we can understand better. Fish swims in the water. Here the words which are written in bold, they are phrases. They are phrases. That is a phrase. In the water is the phrase here. While fish swims is a clause. Why is it a clause? Because we have a subject and we have a finite verb. Because she swims, it is agreeing with the subject. Okay, subject is singular, so verb is also singular. Fish swims in water. She is sleeping on the floor. This is the phrase. She is sleeping is the clause. Why? Again, we have a subject and a finite verb. Third, they will meet at the concert. At the concert is what? It is a phrase because it does not have a subject or a finite verb. It does not have it. So here what do we have? They will meet. They will meet is a clause. Again, why? Because we have got a subject and we have got a finite verb. She is sketching on the wall. On the wall is a phrase, while she is sketching is the clause, because we have a subject and a verb. So now what do we see? That a sentence is a combination of a phrase or clause. Okay, a sentence can be the combination of one phrase, one clause, or it can be the combination of two clauses also. Okay, so it is not always necessary that a sentence will have a phrase always. So this is the thing. Now let us move on and see what do we have to study next. Next, before getting into the concept of the or dealing with the types of the pronoun of the clauses, we should know the subordinating conjunctions. Now, what are subordinating conjunctions? It is obviously one of the kinds of conjunctions. When we will be doing the conjunctions, we will be doing it other parts also. But just now, you just have to focus on the words or on the words which are used as the subordinating conjunctions. So these are the list of the words which are used as the subordinating conjunctions. This you should know. Okay, it is not all the words are not given in your books, so you can take it down from here. And the second part is that it joins two clauses of unequal rank. We will be dealing with this. What do we what do we mean by unequal rank? We'll be dealing with this later when we'll discuss about the types of the clauses. So as of now, we only have to focus on the words which are used as subordinating conjunctions. What are the words like after, because, till, unless, whenever, wherever, that, as soon as, in as much as. Okay, so these are the words. Just note it down so that it becomes handy for you when you solve the exercises of clauses. Now, let us look at this example. He failed because he did not work hard. Now let us extract, let us again divide this into parts like we did in the very first slide. He failed is one part of the sentence, and because he did not work hard is the other part of the sentence, because we can find two subjects, here one subject and here one subject, so we have divided in between so that each part has one subject only. Okay, now he failed. We have extracted this part of the sentence and we are going to analyze it, whether it is a clause or not. He is the subject. Yes, it is a subject. Failed is a verb. What kind of verb? Finite verb. Yes, it is a verb. So, and it is making a complete sense. He failed. We can just say he failed, and the sense or the meaning, complete meaning of the sentence is conveyed when we say he failed. Okay, nothing else is required. It does not depend on any other thing to complete itself. He failed in itself is a complete thing. So it makes a complete sense, and it can stand alone as a sentence. It can be a sentence. He failed, full stop, it is a sentence. So all the conditions of the clause is satisfied. Whatever we did in the definition of the clauses, everything is satisfied. See, it has a subject 1, it has a finite verb 2, it is making a complete sense, yes. And there was a third component that it may or may not stand alone. So yes, it may stand alone, it is standing alone. So we come to the conclusion that yes, it is a clause. We have approved this as a clause. Okay. Now, what about the second part of the sentence? Let us see what is there in the second part of the sentence. So the first part of the sentence, we have concluded that yes, it is a clause. We have set it aside. We have kept it aside. Now let us pick out the second part of the sentence, because he did not work hard, and let us analyze it. Because he did not work hard. He is the subject. Did is the verb, because did is denoting the time of action. It is telling us the tense. So it is a finite verb. Now let us see whether it is fulfilling the conditions of being a clause. So it has a subject and a verb. Condition 1 is satisfied. It conveys some sense but not complete sense. So see, whenever you go and you tell somebody the first sentence, if your first sentence is because he did not work hard, so will the other person be able to understand what you're saying? No. But it is making some sense. It is not like it is not rubbish. It is making some sense, but it is not making complete sense, and it needs some other things, some other words to complete itself, right? So it is conveying some sense and but not the complete sense. Since it is conveying some sense and not complete sense, so this cannot stand alone, and it cannot be a complete sentence like the first part of the sentence was. So this is also one of the criteria of knowing a clause. It does not always stand alone. If it will stand alone always, then it will become a sentence. This is a major difference between the clause and a sentence. A clause may or may not stand as a complete sentence, but the sentence always and always stands complete in itself. It always and always tells us the complete meaning. However, clauses, they do not always convey the complete meaning. They may convey the complete meaning and they may not convey the complete meaning. And in the first part of the sentence, we saw that it is conveying a complete meaning, while in the second part of the sentence, we are seeing that it is not conveying complete meaning. So this is again a clause. This is also a clause. So we have approved this as clause as well. So both the parts of the sentence are clause. Now, what did we observe? What have we finalized? That he failed is the part of the sentence. It is a clause which can stand alone. Okay. Because he did not work hard is a part which cannot stand alone. So now we have come to the two types of clauses. But right now we do not know the names of the two types of clauses, but we have made out that yes, the clauses can be put in two different ways. Okay, so let us again recall the definition that a clause is a group of words that has a subject and a finite verb. We have already done that. It may or may not stand alone to form a complete sentence or to convey a complete thought. Already done that. Now the third part has come, that it is a group of words that acts as a part of speech, right? Phrases were also acting as a part of speech. Clauses also act as part of speech. It can act as a noun, it can act as an adjective or as an adverb. Okay. So this is the new thing which we have added to the definition or the characteristic of a clause. Now, let us see the types of clauses. Okay. See, there are three types of clauses actually. Principal clause, which is also known as the main clause. Okay, this is also known as the main clause. Then we have main clause, this is also known as independent clause because it is principal clause, it is the main clause, so it will be independent by default. Second is subordinating clause. Subordinating clause are the dependent ones. Okay, so they always depend on something or the other. Okay, so subordinating clause is that, and it is also known as dependent clause. Well, there is a third type of clause, that is coordinating clause, which is not there in your syllabus right now, but just for the sake of knowledge you should know that there is a third kind of clause also known as coordinating clause, which it is joined using a coordinating conjunction. So we will right now focus only on the principal clause and subordinating clause and not on the coordinating clause. Now, what are principal clauses? A principal clause has a finite verb with a subject and it conveys the complete meaning. Okay, it conveys a complete meaning. That is, it can stand on its own. The principal clause is also called the main clause or independent clause. So the main point over here is to note that it can stand on its own. It doesn't need anything to in order to give support to it, so it can stand on its own. That is why it is a principal clause, and it is also known as a an independent clause or main clause. And of course, since it is a clause, so it will be needing a subject and a finite verb. That is a must thing for all the clauses. Okay, now let us look at the examples. I enjoy watching movies. So I is the subject here. Okay, I is the subject. Enjoy is the verb, finite verb. Okay, finite verb. So it is making a complete sense. I enjoy watching movies. That's all. It is making a complete sense, and it can stand on its own. So therefore, it is a principal clause or independent clause. All the three conditions satisfied: subject, verb, complete sense. And when any clause will make a complete sense, that means it can stand as a sentence. It can stand alone as a sentence. So it will be naturally an independent clause. Okay. Now we come over to the subordinate clause. What is subordinate clause? It has a finite verb. It has a subject because it is a clause. But what is the major difference between the main clause and the subordinating clause is that it does not convey complete sense on its own. It does not convey complete sense. Principal clause was conveying complete sense. So what will be the opposite of that? A clause which cannot convey a complete sense on its own, so it will not stand alone on its own. Okay, therefore it cannot be a sentence in itself and make sense only. It will make sense only and only when it has a main clause preceding it or succeeding it. What does this mean? Either a main clause should be placed before the subordinate clause, that means preceding it, or it should have a main clause following it. A main clause should be placed after the subordinate clause. This is what we mean when we say succeeding it. Okay, so here I have given you the examples also so that you can differentiate between succeeding and preceding. Here main clause is preceding. Why? Because main clause is put before the subordinating clause. Raman is wearing a shirt which looks nice. So Raman is wearing a shirt. If we say only this much, then this also makes a complete sense. That is why it is a principal clause or main clause. However, if we say which looks nice, then what happens is does not make a complete sense. Therefore, it is a subordinate clause. Okay. Now, in the second sentence, what do we see? That the main clause is succeeding it. The main clause is placed after the subordinate clause. Since it is raining is a subordinate clause, because if you see, if you tell your friend since it is raining, your friend will not be able to understand that what you actually want to say. Okay, unless and until you place this the rest of the sentence which has a main clause in it, we cannot go out to play. So when we have added the main clause after the subordinating clause, then its meaning is conveyed completely now. So one important thing to note down is When the subordinate clause lies in the beginning, when it is placed in the beginning of the sentence, then it is separated by commas usually. Like in this one, subordinate clause is placed in the beginning, so we separate the subordinate clause with the main clause by placing a comma. See, this is the comma which has been placed over here, but we did not place a comma over here because subordinating clause was placed after the main clause. Okay, so is this much clear to everyone? Yes. So let us move ahead. Let us look at this example. She met the man. She met the man who helped her. So she met the man. This part is what? It is an independent clause because it has a subject and it has a verb. It has a subject and it has a finite verb, to be precise. Okay, and it is making a complete sense. She met the man. If you say it like a sentence, then it conveys the meaning completely. It conveys a complete meaning. So therefore it is an independent clause. However, if we say who had helped her, who had helped her, if we look at it separately, then it does not convey a complete sense. It can convey some or the partial sense, but it does not convey a full meaning. Okay, so that is why it is a subordinate clause. Now what do we observe over here is that a subordinate clause, why is it named as a subordinate clause? Because it starts with a subordinating conjunctions always. Okay, see, who is again a subordinating conjunction, so it is a subordinate clause. You can also this is also used as a pronoun, who is also used as a pronoun, who is also used as an adjective, but it is a conjunction also. Okay, so it always it begins with a subordinating conjunction. So this is one way of identifying a subordinating clause. Well, the most important one is that it does not convey a complete sentence, but if you want to know from where does the subordinating clause begin, so in this part it will begin in every sentence, or in every case, in every example, the subordinating clause will always begin with a conjunction, subordinating conjunction. Now, see, principal clause does not have any kind. It is just one principal clause. But subordinating clause has three kinds: noun clause, adjective clause, and adverb clause. We'll do only noun clause today, and the rest of the two we'll do tomorrow. Okay. So let us see what a noun clause is. Noun clause, as the name suggests, what will it be doing? It will be functioning as a noun. First of all, what a noun clause is? It is a subordinate clause. Always remember this, that whatever kinds of like if the clause is named after the part of the speech, then that is always a subordinate clause and not a main clause. This is the most important thing to know. Okay, main clause does not have any kind. However, this subordinate clause only is divided into three kinds: noun clause, adjective clause, and adverb clause. So a noun clause is a subordinate clause which functions as a noun in a sentence, and it answers the question what. Okay, it will be answering to the question what. Let us see how. He knows that he will pass the exam. This is the sentence. This is our sentence. And if we divide it, so he knows is the main clause. Here I have written he knows is the main clause. That is the subordinating conjunction. And the sentence, or the part of the sentence which begins with a subordinating conjunction, that is known as what? A subordinating clause. So that he will pass the exam is a subordinating noun clause, because let us ask the question what. He knows what? He knows that he will pass the exam. He knows what? That he will pass the exam. So the answer which we get to the question what, it gives us the subordinating noun clause. Okay. Next, what you learn now will help you in future. Let us see. What you learn now is a subordinating clause. Why? Because again, what is the subject over here? No, what is not the subject? You is the subject. I'm so sorry. You is the subject. And learn is the verb. Okay, so what you learn now is subordinating noun clause, and will help you in future. You will say that we do not have any subject over here, but there is a subject over here. It is the subject which is hidden, which we have omitted. Okay, suppose this was written as a separate sentence, then we would have added it. But right now, since we have joined it, so we have removed or we have omitted this it, but this is somewhere hidden in the main clause. So it will help you in future. It is the subject over here, and will help. Will is the verb. So again, this is the main clause, and the first part here, the subordinating clause is placed before the main clause, or we can say the other way around, that main clause is written after the subordinating clause. Okay, so let us ask the question. What will help you in future? What you learn now. So what you learn now becomes our noun clause, subordinating noun clause. Now, what are the functions of noun clause? Noun clause acts as a subject when it is placed in the beginning, when it is placed at the place of the subject, like that it would rain. Seems likely. What seems likely? That it would rain. So this is here, it is acting as a subject. It acts as the object also. Everybody knows that he is an honest man. Everybody knows what? That he is an honest man. So it is placed up at the end, towards the end of the sentence. So it has become the object. Next, it also acts as object of preposition. Yesterday, I already explained to you what is an object of preposition. It is the part of the, it is something which is placed after, it is a noun or pronoun, which is placed after after a preposition. So pay careful attention to what? Pay careful attention to how I'm going to perform the surgery. So how I'm going to perform the surgery is the noun subordinate noun clause. See, there are two ways of identifying a noun, subordinating noun clause. The first and the very easy or the simplest way is to ask a question what. You'll always be getting an answer to the question what. Other method to identify a noun clause is to find out, to look for these conjunctions, whether, that, if. So a noun clause always begins with such conjunctions, or they begin, like you have these examples. He said that he knew the new neighbors. He asked me whether I knew the new neighbors. Okay, or it begins with the WH words, like why, what, who, when, where, which. All these words you will find in a noun clause. You can see the example. He asked me why the child was crying. Or it will have these pronouns. So exclusively we need not learn the pronouns. These can be studied under subordinate conjunctions also. So these are the examples. My dog eats whatever food I give him. The assistant showed us where we should leave our bags. So these are the things. So we have so far learned the definition of the clauses, the types of clauses, the broad categorization of the clause, that is the subordinate clause and the principal clause, and again the subdivisions of subordinate clause. We have done only one, and the rest of the two we'll be doing, and the rest two we'll be doing in the next session, that is tomorrow. So if you have understood, let us do the questions. Some questions. First of all, tell me whatever we have done, is that clear to everyone? Have all of you understood? Okay, sure. I can see your thumbs up, virtual and physical both. Okay, so let us start with the practice. All of you ready? All right. Here you have to identify whether the underlined part of the sentence is a phrase or a clause. Let us see who will answer today. I'm not giving you the time. Let us see whether you can answer right away or not. Yes, raise your hands. He sailed across the sea. What is across the sea? Yes, Shuk?
Across the sea is a phrase.
Very good. It is a phrase. Next, opening the gate, Ron let his dog into the yard. Yashi?
Phrase.
Very good. It is a phrase because we do not have any subject doing the work. Next is they fished until the sun went down. Who will answer this? Divyanshi.
Phrase.
Phrase. Look at it carefully. Until the sun went down. Do we have a subject
Clause.
here? See?
Clause.
Yes, it is a clause because the sun is the subject and went is a finite verb. Pay attention, Divyanshi. Next, I have an uncle who works in Canada. Shubhi, who works in Canada is phrase or clause? What? Come again? It's a clause because who is the subject and works is the finite verb. Very good. The gift inside the big box will also be underlined over here, is for my brother. Inside the big box is, yes, Nandika?
Ma'am, it is a clause.
No, it is a phrase because we do not have any subject doing the work. Okay, so inside the box, no subject, which is doing some work. Therefore, it will be a phrase, and that too a prepositional phrase or the adverb phrase. Okay, let us move on to the next set of questions. Here we have to identify the main clause and subordinating clause. Now I will be giving you 15 seconds to just go through all the 5 sentences and quickly come with your answers. The bankers need to know what they should do. Yes, Sanvi, tell me the main clause and the subordinate clause.
Ma'am, the bankers need to know is a main clause and what they should know is a subordinating clause.
Very good. Absolutely correct. Excellent answer. Second, as soon as the teacher entered the room, the students sat quietly. Yes, Divyanshi?
Ma'am, as soon as the teacher entered the room, subordinate, the students sat quietly, main clause.
Very good. As soon as the teacher entered the room is a subordinate clause because it is starting with a subordinating conjunction as soon as, while the second part of the sentence, that is the student sat quietly, is the main clause because it can stand alone. Very good, Divyanshi, perfect. Next, this is the farmhouse where they lived. Tanishka?
This is the farmhouse main clause where they live subordinating clause.
Excellent. Tanishka, very good. This is the farmhouse is the main clause. Where they live is the subordinate clause. Wait here till your parents come home. Let us see who will answer this. Vardul, you were raising your hand. Is he here? Yes, Shubh.
Wait here is the main clause. Tell your parents come is the subordinating clause.
Okay, now one thing I would like to ask you, Shubh. Wait here. Okay, yes, it is a main clause. Until your parents come is a subordinating clause. Fine. But in the main clause, where is the subject? Main clause should have a subject. Where is the subject? The subject you is hidden over here. Okay, you wait here is till your parents come. So you is the hidden subject. Anyway, it is correct. Your answer was correct. Wait here is the main clause and till your parents come is the subordinate clause. Very good. Next, last one. I want to know whether the answer is correct. Who will give the answer? Yashi, yes, Yashi. Who will give the answer? Come on. Nobody knows the answer? Shubhi. Yes, Shubhi.
Is the main clause and whether the answer is correct.
Subordinate clause. Very good. Very good, Shubhi. So I want to know is the main clause and whether the answer is correct is the subordinate clause. Now quickly identify the noun clause. Ask the question what in the sentences and identify the noun clause. Who can give me the answer to all the 5 sentences? Let me see who is the genius one. Let me see who can answer all the 5 sentences. It's a challenge, open challenge to everyone. Shubhi and Yashi. Shubh can give. Okay. Who else? Divyanshi can also give. All right. So the first one Yashi will give, second Shubh will give, third Divyanshi, fourth Sanvi, and we are still waiting for the fifth hand. Come on, let's start. Yashi, give me the answer for the first one.
The noun clause here is that she would pass.
Correct. Next. Shubh.
The noun clause here is why he was late.
Absolutely correct. Next. Divyanshi.
Ma'am, what he says is the noun clause.
Very good. Sanvi, the fourth one.
That he will get the prize is the noun.
Excellent. Absolutely correct. Sanvi, tell us the fifth one also. Sanvi, give us the answer for the fifth one also.
That you have come is the noun clause.
Yes, that you have come is the noun clause. So our session ends here today. I hope you have understood everything quite well. So thank you everyone.